What about illegal immigrants? Do illegal immigrants forfeit their right to self-defense when they cross the border illegally into the United States? There are millions of illegal immigrants that are living in this country right now.
Okay. So the minute they forfeit, do you think that these are in any way analogous, these two scenarios?
I'm asking you. You're the one that said he forfeits his right to self-defense when he crossed state lines illegally.
I didn't say that, but cool straw man. I'm saying
so.
So
what did you say then exactly?
I said, okay, if we can go through the list of things.
You said
there's
he
a
morally
lot that Kyle
he abandons his
that Kyle Rittenhouse did in order to make me think that, yeah, he did not go there as a good old boy looking to clean graffiti and just save some lives.
Specifically
so
about
these things are very important, okay?
I'm asking you specifically about the crossing state lines thing. Okay, you said because he crossed state lines illegally, he forfeited the moral high ground. Do you put that same standard on illegal immigrants who have illegally crossed a state line to come into the United States? Do they forfeit their right?
This is like a bizarre straw man.
Do they
really disanalogous scenario?
You were the one that just said it.
Do you want me to go through that one? I can go through that one as well.
So do illegal immigrants have the moral right to defend themselves?
Do illegal immigrants have the moral right to defend themselves? Yes, the same
people who have crossed
within the
line illegally into the United States.
Within the same scenarios that I presented you with. The same scenarios. Do you remember them? Because if we go through all three of those, yes, it depends on the scenario. This is not we can't blanket statement these.
Okay.
So it's not a blanket statement. We're trying to isolate the independent variables here, and it feels like you don't want to do that.
Oh, I'm fine. Like isolating the independent variables in the scenario. When it comes to Kyle Rittenhouse, it's unusual to me why we keep missing these points. Like
I just want to get an answer.
Because we want to cut it down to this really black and white scenario where Kyle Rittenhouse, was he morally justified in order to defend himself in this one scenario? As if everything else happened in a vacuum, right? As if nothing else matters.
So
the fact that he's not legally allowed to own the gun, the fact that he's defending property that he doesn't even know.
Well, that's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to isolate each variable independently. So if you say well, he crossed state lines, then we have to say, okay, well, if he didn't, does that change your thought on it? And if you say it doesn't, then we throw that variable out because that's not really relevant to the conversation.
Well, no, because I'm saying it's not just one variable. It's like, let's paint a tapestry.
It's a list of variables. You're saying how many? Can you tell us? Is it 5 variables? Is it 6 variables? When is the variable threshold crossed?
Well, we're talking about a very specific case. Are
these variables hierarchically ordered?
Are they hierarchical?
Are these variables?
If I classify them, if I put them.
Was there like a primary variable that if that alone changed, then your opinion on this would change?
Yeah, I suppose so. If I was to pick apart, I think eventually I would say that there's certain things that he did that were bad or good, but that doesn't change the fact that I don't think he was morally justified in what he was doing.
I just, before we move on, I just want to get clarity. I've asked you a question, you haven't answered it.
Sure.
Do illegal immigrants have the moral right to self-defense? I think it's important because there are millions.
I'll repeat it a second time. That's fine. I said it depends on the scenario. So again, I'd have to go through those 3 points depending on the scenario.
So there are plenty of scenarios where illegal immigrants forfeit the right to self-defense in your book. Can you list one of those scenarios where an illegal immigrant forfeits right to self-defense?
Well, if they were crossing the border and then they immediately were about to attack someone, so that person would then have the moral ground to self-defend themselves, right? If they were about to kill somebody, then yes, that person could act in self-defense.
So if those illegal immigrants are criminals.
But that doesn't have to do with them crossing the border. That has to do with them attacking someone.
Yeah, exactly. It's an independent variable.
So this is the gotcha we're hinging on. It's the imaginary lines argument, as if
we want to separate. We want to get rid of that variable.
You brought up the imaginary lines argument.
Well, I was bringing up a handful of things that I think characterize Kyle Rittenhouse as foregoing, yes, the moral grandstanding here. Like, how about I ask you some questions here?
Go ahead.
Why did Kyle Rittenhouse go to that area to defend that property? What was the purpose?
Didn't he have a job working as a lifeguard in that city?
Yeah, he worked there.
So he went to work his job. Then he decided to volunteer his time cleaning graffiti. And then someone called and said, hey, can anyone help defend this piece of property at night? And he said, sure.
Do you think he actually got like a literal call? Was it like the bat signal went out and then all of a sudden he's like, I think he
got like a phone call. That's what
they called the high school.
That's the lawyer's deposition. But that to me is so comical. I didn't know that we'd be running with that.
Why is that common? Wait.
Do you have better information? If you have better information, please provide it.
Well, my assertion would be that because he's part of this militia, that he saw perhaps a post on Facebook where, yes, that property owner was asking for people to come defend
do you have
property,
evidence
which might
this?
add a little bit to the racially charged motivation for this whole
do you
thing.
Have
but when it comes to,
like, do you have evidence of this? Where are you getting this from?
Well, so the evidence in one direction is coming from their legal team, right? That's where the evidence comes that he got
based on a statement from Kyle Rittenhouse. You're doing hypotheticals of from where?
And so if that is what turns out to be true, that's like ridiculous to me. Like, I don't understand in what world does business owners reach out to high school kids saying, "Hey, please come help me." Come.
Do you think the
defend my
business
property.
owner called Kyle personally, or do you think he called whoever was organizing the cleanup
militia
and said, "Hey, can you help me out with this?"
Yeah, they had a cleanup going at the high school, cleaning up graffiti. He probably called the cleanup crew.
I mean, it wasn't just kids. There was a whole bunch of adults and other people.
So he called the cleanup crew, and then whose decision was it to send kids to go protect property?
Kyle Rittenhouse volunteered.
So
according to the statement, I mean that's what we're going off of. But you're basically saying that the lawyer statement is incorrect, and you have this other theory of exactly what happened. But that theory is
I'm fine believing the lawyer statement. To me, the lawyer statement, like that to me is just a ridiculous premise. I mean, maybe it's something that happens often, and I'm just woefully unaware of it.
It's just interesting
where kids or groups or even people who work in pools or want to wash stuff off are interested in going and helping out and protecting property at gunpoint.
But you have this other idea that he was checking his Facebook. Like, where did you get that idea from?
Oh, that's another idea that's been reported. But here, I can pull up the article.
Yeah, who reported that?
I think it was the New York Times saying where exactly did the call come from. So yeah, the New York Times was reporting that apparently there were calls on Facebook for people to come defend property. Now, whether or not the militia chose to use that, whether or not they saw it, or if actually Kyle Rittenhouse got, again, the bat signal, he got a personal phone call from the person, or the group itself got the phone call. In either rate, that's one part of this in which. So do you think then that makes it okay for him to go defend someone else's property because of the fact that he was reached out to? Let's say that.
Well, I think it's irrelevant. I think he would be morally justified in self-defense regardless. So I don't really know what the point is on harping on this, but I was just explaining to you how I assumed the situation went down based on the evidence I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see how this is that relevant. Do you think that changes anything?
Well, all of these things are relevant. First off, like, he was not legally allowed to own that firearm. Is that relevant?
Not to his immediate self-defense, no.
That doesn't matter at all.
Wait, so do you think that if you had a gun that you weren't allowed to own and someone tries to murder you, you're not allowed to kill the person with the gun because you're not allowed to have it?
Oh, because it's beside you. No, I think, again, if you're acting in self-defense and you have an immediate threat to your life, yeah, you can use that. But that is one of many things when it comes to Kyle Rittenhouse, that, again, he was not walking into this as an innocent bystander. He was not walking into this and then all of a sudden, Kyle Rittenhouse, how did this happen? Like, we never could have predicted this. How did he all of a sudden get attacked? So in this scenario, he was going there with the intent purpose to protect property at gunpoint, right?
Do you not think people should be allowed to protect property? So it seems like we keep coming back to
this. Well, I mean, we're just going to go in circles. I can keep giving you the same answer. I think you can defend property if it's something that is immediate to your livelihood, like if you will need it to be able to survive. For example, if someone is about to smash your bottle of heart medication, then your heart will stop if they do that. It's pretty much the same as if they're just about to stab you in the heart. So that's an instance where I'll grant you that, yes, you can defend that heart medication.
Well, no, but you said that you can defend the bag of chips. You said that earlier. That's not immediate to your well-being, right?
Well, yeah, my answer there remains the exact same. I don't think you can shoot someone in the face if they try to steal your bag of chips. And I certainly don't think you can shoot someone in the face if they steal your friend's bag of chip.
No one's suggesting that.
Of course. Well, that's why we have to look at this as a case-specific thing. We have to go down this piece by piece, right?
Right, but we have to look at the variables, right?
Yes,
we've established. Okay, so wait a minute. So we've established that you believe it's okay to defend property. Okay. As well, not lethally, right? It's okay.
Not said that, but sure.
You said the shopkeeper is allowed to defend the bag of chips, okay? Or allowed to.
I also didn't say that. You're mischaracterizing me. I'm saying.
Well, how am I mischaracterizing?
Okay, remember. Okay, so I mean, we can go back in the VOD, but your example was if someone grabbed a bag of chips, can you stop them from grabbing that bag of chips?
Right.
I said, yeah, you can try to stop them.
Okay, when I say defend property, that's what I'm. Is that not how you would categorize defending property? Grabbing someone, taking a bag of chips?
Yeah, but am I going to be able to kill them over those chips?
Well, we're not there yet, though. We got to take a step by step. Okay,
all right, let's do it.
So So you're saying that, yes, you can defend property. You're fine with the concept of an individual person defending property, right?
Right. With non-lethal means to an extent, based on the scenario.
Means,
yeah,
of course.
Based on the scenario, sure.
So, but then you also, and you correct me if I'm wrong, you said that if the person who was aggressing on the property then turns it into a lethal situation or potentially lethal situation, the person is then allowed to use self-defense to end the other person's life.
Right, but you're no longer defending property at that point.
You're now defending yourself.
Sure. Right, so we've separated the two.
Right. So that's what I'm getting at is with Kyle. He's there to defend the property, which
not his property.
Okay, so is that that's what I'm asking? Is that the contention?
Well, it's one of many contentions, but it's a pretty huge one, both from a legal standpoint and from a moral one as well.
No, but so in our hypothetical, if it wasn't a shopkeeper, if it was Spider-Man, we all know the Spider-Man origin story, right? The guy runs by and the shopkeeper's like, hey, stop that guy. And Spider-Man does it. And the guy goes off and kills Uncle Ben. So if it's not his property, you're not morally allowed to stop a person. Is that where you're coming from?
Well, you've now separated again to whether or not he's attacking someone versus property. Like these things have to be different, right? Like,
Well, first of all, he's not. We have no evidence that he's attacking one. He's standing in front of a business, right?
If it was standing in front of a business, but in your scenario, in this hypothetical, the Spider-Man 101 environment, right? So in that case, you've gone like, oh, he's gone on to kill Uncle Ben. I mean, that's what we call a slippery slope fallacy.
I'm talking about I'm not ignore that. I'm just talking about the incident of the guy running by and the shopkeeper's like, stop that guy. You don't think you have any moral? You don't think it's moral for you to stop that guy? You think it's immoral for you to stop that guy?
To stop the person who's running away?
Yeah.
Well, how do you know about what's happening? Like
you see, okay, we're getting way too off on these
we're in the weeds, so to speak.
We're getting in the weeds. Okay. So no, again, so is the contention here is that if Kyle's was the owner of the store, would it have been fine for him to defend the store?
It depends on the scenario.
What would be the scenario where it wouldn't be okay for him to defend the store?
Okay, so he owns this car shop.
Right.
I don't think he's morally justified in shooting people who would simply be damaging the property when they're not posing a direct threat to his life.
Well, I don't agree. I don't disagree with that necessarily, but that's not what happened, right?
See, at each one of these scenarios, we eventually accelerate to this point where he stopped attacking property and he started to attack a person. So we can separate the two. And I think you could do the very same, because you want to have this argument whether or not it's morally justifiable to defend property. That always seems to accelerate to the point where he's defending himself or defending a person, right?
We can have the conversation about whether you can kill someone over property, which I think you can. But that's not exactly what happened in Kyle's situation. As we've said, it escalated from he was defending property to he was defending his life. And it sounds like you're saying that him going there in the first place, him simply defending property in the first place, foregoes the fact that he was defending his own life.
So simply defending property foregoes the fact that he would be defending his own life. I think that you will lose the moral high ground if the scenario involving you traveling across state lines, carrying a firearm that's not your own to defend property that you don't have. And I'm going to give you guys the good graces of, skirting away perhaps the, let's say, more highly charged reasons why he might be in there. But all of those things, all of a sudden, it's a very different scenario than you were simply standing in front of your shop, trying to protect your shop from people trying to attack you. You are going for an ideological reason. He's not going over there simply to protect property. He's going over there because he's part of a larger culture war, right? He's going over there as part of the, let's just say, the Blue Lives Matter movement, perhaps the MAGA movement. And it happens to have a lot more to do with that than it is simply him going there for the purposes of being an upstanding citizen.
So do you think if someone goes to a place for an ideological reason, they forego their right to self-defense if someone attacks them?
And what about the people that they're attacking? This is important, right?
Well, no, but wait, but that's not what I asked you, though.
Okay, so does someone forego the right to self-defense?
If they're going to a place for an ideological reason.
That alone, no, because you would need more than that.
There's a problem here, Lance, because you keep adding these things together, and you're creating this matrix of things that we can never get to the bottom.
The matrix.
Well, no, seriously. I asked you a very important question, because is it 5 things? Is it 3 things? Like, which thing is most important? Like, I don't understand the logic of these things stack up to an argument.
Because
it seems
because what I think you generally, and I'm not you know, if I'm straw manning you here, tell me, right? But I'm going to try and steel man you here. I think I like, when we cut this down, what you would really like is me to be able to give you just a yes or no answer, when I think that these situations are always multifaceted, and there's like, this doesn't happen in a vacuum. So there are a whole bunch of things we have to consider, rather than just saying at any given point anyone should be allowed to do blank because of blank. So that's why I'm saying, and I didn't want us to spend, you know, an inordinate amount of time going in circles here. That's why I was like, I'm going to, right out of the gates, lay down what would be my qualifiers for this and when it is rightfully for an individual to act in self-defense.